What's up? What's up? What's up, y'all? Happy Tuesday. Just get myself situated here. Give me 1 second. I'm excited to be on the Facebook Live with y'all today. I'm also going to do the same over in um, Instagram so that way people can see me and see how I do this thing and answer questions from both sides of the pond. Appreciate y'all for sending the questions in. You've been awesome. Again, just looking forward to the opportunity to share my answers and my thoughts with y'all. Real Talk Live. Happy Tuesday, Stevie. What's up, girl? Appreciate you for your questions and for jumping in. All right, y'all. What's up? What's up? So, man, Real Talk Live. We are live. We are now answering questions about whatever questions I receive from people. I have quite a few today, so we're going to be able to go back and forth on these questions. I'm kind of navigating Facebook and Instagram at the same time, so jump in. Remember, I will always now post on Instagram when I am ready to share that I have questions. I'm gonna do a live on Tuesday. So if you ever have questions, send them to me or answer the poll so I can get you the answers. But we'll jump right in. So my first question that I received from someone today was, let's go with this one. What are coaches looking for in emails and how should I structure them to appeal best? Okay, so remember your emails are the things that you use to get the coaches to notice you, right? So in general, it first of all does not need to be a whole bunch of paragraphs. You need to get straight to the point because coaches don't have time and decide and don't want to read long emails. So what should happen first is you should be introducing yourself in your email. Hello, my name is such and such. I'm a 2028 grad. I play middle infield. Um, I play for this team. Here's the three strings about me that you'll find in my videos. Link the video so they can actually see that your words match what you're doing in your videos, and then send the email. Okay. If you are also in the process of going to a tournament or a camp, you might add a few more rounds of emails. And I have a template for email. So if you've seen any of my videos, you know that I'll provide the template. So if anyone has or wants the template, that kind of gives you an information of like when I send a schedule to a coach, what it should look like. What do I send? When I actually get my times in my games? What should I send? How should that look? Let me know. I'm happy to share that with you. But in general, basic information that allows us, not basic, information that allows us to know who you are, okay, quickly, where you're going to be playing at, and a link to your video. So that's the question. That's the answer. All right. Next question. Is there still time for my 2026? Wait, is there still time for the 2026 class to get recruited? I feel like not many schools are looking. So my 2026 athletes, I'm here with you. I work with two, potentially three 2026 grads, and I can tell you that schools are definitely still looking. The question is, are you in the right places? Do you have the right plan for them to see who you are? So that's going to be really important as well. So the question is not necessarily, are they still looking, but are they looking where you are currently at? And that is the thing we have to be a little bit better at. So if you are a 2026 grad, I will do a video for you tomorrow for what the process should look like for you specifically. The biggest thing is this summer was really important, and those athletes who started working with me a month and a half ago had a better plan. So they were able to maximize the sparkler. They were able to maximize the um, the tournaments that they were going to in sparkler, the TC nationals, PGF nationals. So they're able to definitely find you, right? It's just a matter of where you're looking and are you looking in the places that they are, but also are you in the places where they could find you? Okay. I get questions like this all the time, and I just want to kind of have a caveat real quick. Is the caveat is what I'm noticing a lot is athletes want to be recruited, but I cannot find you on social media. Or when I go to your page on social media, what happens is I don't see anything that indicates to me that you're serious about this sport. So here's what I mean by that. think about this concept for a second. Most of you always tell me when I ask you the question, where are your videos? You'll say, oh, on my mom's page, or you'll say, oh, on field level. You'll say, oh, on sports recruits, NCSA, all the things. And I believe that that is those are very valid answers. However, I want you to think about this from the perspective of a college coach. Okay, so think about this. I travel a lot. Over the last 4 weeks, I've been in 4 different states, maybe 5 different states. And what do I do in my pastime? I am in the airport looking at my phone on social media. I am also checking my emails. I am on in the airplane also looking at my social media, checking my emails. Okay, I'm also every now and again looking at YouTube. But that is where the coaches are. There are no coaches, not many, I will say not no, but there are not many coaches that are taking the time to go to sports recruits in their downtime to look for athletes. Okay, there's no coaches in their downtime going to field level or anywhere else to look for athletes. So what's in their downtime. So what's really important is to make it easier for yourself and be where they are. Okay, like so make sure your social media has a footprint that gives us the opportunity to see you and know who you are. Does it make sense? So make sure you definitely do that as you move forward in this process. So 2026 is, I will have a video for you tomorrow, but the main thing is, are you in the right places that coaches are to find you? Okay. And then also, do you have a plan? Okay. My other question is heading to, I don't know what that means. Emailing schedules. Do you follow up with so they can come watch you with, I don't know. I'm going to come back to that question. I'm not exactly sure how to answer that question right now. All right, so let's jump into another question. When an email comes from a coach that has viewed the play time and sent invites for camps as well as a tournament and mentions they will keep in touch closer to the date, should the player ask if they can meet one-on-one or just wait for the camp or college tour? Okay. I think invite for the camp, view the play time, and send an invite to the camp as well as a tour. Sorry, y'all, I'm trying to just decipher the message. As well as tournament mentioned they will keep in touch closer to the date. Should. All right, so I think this, it depends. So the question I think is around if a coach responds to an email and they have watched you play, they respond to an email and invited you to a camp, should you follow it up with a question around, can I schedule a one-on-one call with you? Okay, so I would say if a coach takes the time to respond to you, and we have to be careful because a camp invite is not always an actual communication that I want to play with you or work with you. I want to recruit you. So I just want to be clear on that. Sometimes you get camp invites because really that's the easiest thing for us to say. And then when we get you in person, we can kind of get a better way to evaluate you. So we have to kind of understand. And I think for this particular athlete, I think you're a senior. So if it's a school that you're interested in, I definitely would recommend going to that school and going to the camp, right? So that's number one. Number two, I would say after the camp has happened, I would ask for a one-on-one. Okay, I would ask for a call to see if they're more interested. But you will know after the camp if they want to move forward with you. So I think if they've invited you, it's a school you're interested in, and you are a senior, then I would suggest that you follow through with going to the camp and then finding out more in that particular space if they're interested in their space. Now, as a senior, the coaches can speak to you. So I would even honestly, you could also respond back to the email. And I would ask, and I think what I do with my athletes is, especially my 2026 is we're trying to be strategic with the tournaments we go to. So the question that we follow up with is, hey coach, I thank you for the invite. We're really trying to be intentional about the camps we go to. Here are my strengths. Is this something that your program values and looks for in recruits? So now when you give them that response back, they can also give you a response back and say, yes, it is. No, it's not. We're actually done with our class. But now you give an opportunity for them to respond, to truly see or gauge their interest. And again, because you're at 2026, they're more likely to be able to, they're able to respond to you. The question is, will they respond to you? So let's do that first. And then once you have that response, then you go to the camp if they have more interest in you after that, definitely request to set up a one-on-one call. Okay. But more times than not, if a coach wants to do a one-on-one call with you, they will make sure that you have it. I have a coach that's currently working with one of my 2026 players that is literally following her across the country and in a good way, and is telling like, hey, where is the where camps are you in? Can we spend time together? Can you come visit the school? Things like that. So if they're interested, they're going to let you know. But I would say get yourself in the right position, in the right place, ask the right questions, and see what happens. So great question. All right. The next question is, and I like this because this is a serious thing that happens. There is the phases. So I mentioned to everybody in the videos that I've done in previously over the last few years over Instagram and TikTok, there are 4 levels to the recruiting process. Okay, the exposure identification phase. Okay, the evaluation phase. Okay, the comparison phase, and the offer phase. And remember, I got this from my great friend Mandy at NSR, so I want to make sure she always get the hype for this. But right now, it sounds like where your athlete is. The question is, I didn't even read the question, but the question is around if a coach has been talking to you, they've been following you, they've been answering your emails, you've been talking back to them, but they haven't actually given you an offer. How do you know if how do you ask the question, is the time for the offer, right? So what it sounds like to me is your athlete is in the comparison phase. They are looking at other athletes, they're looking at your athlete as well, and they're trying to determine which one fits their program best. Okay, so as I mentioned before, in the comparison phase, coaches are looking at parents, they're looking at grades, they're looking at the intangible things like, can this person be a great fit in my program as a person, not just as an athlete, but also can they consistently help my program athletically? So what's probably happening right now is they're still trying to see, is your athlete consistent enough to be an athlete that we bring to our program? So that's kind of what they're probably in the phase of doing. And I would say as a 2026 grad, it does not hurt to ask the question, hey coach, I am, finishing up the summer. I'm really interested in your school and your program. I like everything you're talking about. I would kind of like to know, is this something serious that I should be looking into more with you, or should I be considering other options? Be frank, ask the question, and do it in a respectful way. But I think how I just gave you the words would be great. Hey coach, I'm trying to just get through the summer. I really enjoy your program. Can I assume that you're really interested and there's an offer coming, or should I be continuing my options and looking? Okay. So now that I've asked that question, give them the opportunity to answer the question. Okay. If you kind of get ghosted or don't get a response, you kind of know what the answer is going to be. If so, they do ask you answer the question, and you're interested and they're interested, then move forward with whatever the following questions might be as far as financials, what needs to happen, things like that. Another question that I got today, hopefully that helps. So another question I got today was, my athlete has a personal Instagram and a softball Instagram, or should they have both? And I think what's really important to understand is, don't make more work for yourself, especially on the same platform. Okay. So if your athlete has an Instagram account and it's already started and it's softball related, right, and you want to make a private one, I would say use the private one, softball account. They want to create a private one. Don't do that on Instagram. Just make your softball page your page. It's you. You're you as a softball player. You're you as an athlete. You're you as a person. So use the same platform, but make sure that when they go to your page, they see the softball the most. Make sense? So use softball, use the platform, use Instagram as the platform that you want to use. And then if you want to have a separate account, I would suggest also having X. And a matter of fact, I would suggest having X first. Just because, again, when it comes to coaches and scrolling, they're going to scroll at Instagram or X first before Instagram. So don't have 2 on the same platform. That just is not smart. But if you're going to have 2, have an X, have an Instagram. Hopefully that helps people in this process. Let's see. You mentioned social medias. Yep. Good. Okay. Cool. So awesome. Let me see what other questions, if I have any other ones, but usually I'm on here about 15 minutes or so. Okay. I have a 2029 girl ripping home runs on the regular. I think she's good, and others tell me she is, and she loves the game. What can I do to continue to foster this love while upping the game so she stays competitive? Right? How do I also pick the right travel team for her? And then how do I get her seen outside of our little town? Great question. Very layered. I like the layers. All right. So first and foremost, how do I use social media will be really important in this process. So I think the first question is, how do I continue to foster her love while upping her elevation of her game? Yeah, so I think what's really important here is to have a process where you're working with like a mental performance coach. Because I think it's very true that our athletes will start to get lost in their identity around this time where they're trying to be really great as athletes. It happens all the time, and even athletes at the college level sometimes struggle to separate the two, and then they end up hating the game that they've played so much and fought so hard to be at this level. So first and foremost, I think a mental performance coach is really important because we have to develop the person, the human first. So if you look at my logo on my shirt, it actually says 360 athlete. We're talking about human, student, and competitor. So I think what's really important is to keep her grounded with knowing that her value is not softball related. That softball is a part of what she does, is not who she is, but her value, worth, and her enoughness is already what it is. Out of 8 billion people in the world, there's only one of her, which makes her unique, valuable, and enough. She doesn't need softball to get that. Softball simply helps. So we have to make sure we separate self from athlete in this particular instance. Now, if I am a person that has goals and I want to accomplish those goals, there are things that come with that. And so then it's the understanding of, if I want this goal, what is required of me? That is not a pressure. That is not a thing to be stressed about. It is just simply what is required. It's the expectation. So from there, we have to now navigate what those expectations look like, but also with balance for how do I also take time to rest and take care of myself at the same time. So I think first and foremost, there needs to be a good balance between those things. There needs to be an understanding of the elite level habits that come with wanting to play at a high level, but also most importantly, they have to remember that they are unique, valuable, and enough just as they are. And there's nothing that anyone can say or do to answer that. To help that, to change that. Excuse me. I was reading a comment. So that's really, really important. Okay. The second part is they seem to be really good. And how do we get that notice outside of our small town without playing on a higher travel team? So I've done a video on this before, but I think there are 3 ways that your athlete can still get the exposure, even if they don't play currently on a higher level travel team. So I think what's really important is to try to find the way to connect to the travel teams that are higher and bigger. So maybe you can't commit fully to them, but how can I be included when they have, events where coaches are coming? Can I pay to be a part of that space? Can I pay to train with them sometimes? But also then, how do I become a pickup player for those teams when they do travel to those tournaments, when they might need an extra player, especially if your athlete is a home run hitter? I can only imagine that they want athletes that can hit. So hopefully that helps. So I think that's really important. So now we are preparing for a new travel ball season. We are now in tryouts, trying to figure out the right teams, the right fits, things like that. I think what's really important is we have to sort of rank every program off of a couple things. First and foremost, I think the biggest thing would be, what is the development of that program like, and what is the support within that program, within that organization like? Are they doing things continuously that are helping develop and elevate the athlete? Because remember, there is a goal in this process that needs to happen. And so what we have to do is make sure that the organization is preparing my athlete physically for this right now, or giving them the tools to prepare physically for that. Now, that does not mean that the athlete doesn't work on their own outside of that. In fact, they have to work on their own after that, but we have to make sure that they have a foundation of how to get better. The second thing you want to look for is what national tournaments, not even that. The second thing I want you to look for is what connections or what is their track record for the athletes who have graduated from their programs, and where are those players going? Especially if you want to play at a higher level, you kind of want to have that information, because that information partly gives us, is this coach connected? Because the offer stage and the comparison stage of the recruiting process happens because of relationships. So you want to make sure that you're joining an organization where the relationships are really valued between the travel team and the college coaches. remember that even though September 1st of their junior year is the time that coaches can start talking to athletes, it does not mean that they're not being evaluated and identified earlier. And how they're really communicating with players before they can actually be recruited or communicated with, excuse me, is through those coaches in the travel ball organization. So it's either through the coaches, it's through your lessons of the coaches that you work with, through people like myself in my program for my athletes. So there's someone that they are communicating with outside of the athlete and the parents. So you want to be in a place where they support that, where they have those relationships, and where they do give you that good feedback and reputation for always sending good athletes on to those particular programs. So that's really important. The next thing you want to think about with the travel team is, again, where are they going to play? Are they putting themselves in environments where they can be competitive and where college coaches are looking? Okay, coaches are looking for, as a college coach, we're looking to elevate our program. We're looking to bring in athletes who honestly are better than the current athletes because we're always looking to elevate. So you have to be playing in an environment that is all about elevation and things like that. I will say again that remember, competition for those who don't have the separation between value and worth and being an athlete will struggle really hard in this environment. So you will see right away your athlete being overwhelmed or consumed by the demands of this space if they don't have the mental capacity to handle the demands of that space. So just remember that in this entire process. And I really, really hope that helps for y'all. So here's how this works. I always post before I do the videos, usually the day of, probably about noon, my time, Eastern time, so that I can get the questions from y'all. So sometimes if you ask me the questions in the live, I kind of have already a set of questions I answer. So just for you to be clear, that's just something you should know because I don't want to be on here for an hour. I just want to give you a little bit of my time and give you good answers. So I usually create a list based on the questions that I receive before the call. And then I answer them. If there's no questions before the call, then I kind of go into the questions that are asked of me on Instagram. So I do have a few questions on Instagram, but I just kind of want you to know that's sort of how this process works. So if I didn't get to your question today, I will write down your questions and that way I can answer them for you on the next time that we connect. Okay. Let me see if there's anything pretty close. Yeah. Perfect. All right, y'all. So I will do a video on the strengths as well so you can kind of understand what I mean when I say strengths. I put that in the last video, so I will do that. But I appreciate your time. Thank you so much for tuning in. As always, make sure if you have any questions, send them my way. I'm here to answer them for you. Have a great night, everybody. Again, thanks for joining. Peace.